Welcome back to the 7th episode of our F123 My Team series, and we are in Canada. Although in qualifying, it's a bit rainy out there. Hopefully, it won't require some wets. Hopefully, it's just inters because our setup is going to be a setup for the dry race that we are having. But here we are on the back straight, and it's not that bad. We see a bit of, like, I wouldn't say a complete dry line, but we see where the racing line is, and since we see that, that's what we're gonna follow. But as we head to the start finish line, we're just gonna go straight. Hopefully that gives us less time, and that automatically puts us into P2, just 1 second behind Hamilton, which in my opinion is a lot, but that should be good enough for us as we head to Q2, and we just dropped down all the way to P10, which is not bad. I wasn't really worried that we were gonna drop down like lower than P10, but this is better enough. So as we head into Q2 and into the last two corners right here, into the start finish straight, we take the shortest line possible instead of following the dry line, and we come out in P2, but this time just 2 tenths behind Sainz, which in my opinion is good enough for us to not go out and just wait until the finish line. Although when we did see we dropped to P9, we decided to go out within the last two minutes, and this time we actually follow the drier line, and that brings us to P2 right after, just for Q2 and P2. So let's see what we can do in Q3, as we were just 3 tenths short of Russell, but we were, I would say, almost half a tenth faster than Hamilton. Man, Mercedes are bringing it on this weekend. And we're back in Q3, where it's gonna be a bit of a shootout, and here we go on the chicane. We get a decent exit. We follow the drier line up because I feel like it is faster than taking the shortest line. And from there, we are 4 tenths away from Leclerc in P2. Again, I think this is, you can kid me or not, but we keep on getting P2s on most of these runs. I think we're just gonna P2 on the race. But since this is a shootout, we went once again. And as we head into the last 2 corners right here, we had a purple sector 1, a green sector 2. What can we get out of this qualifying with almost half a second improvement? And we get P2 again. This day has just been full of P2s, especially in qualifying.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin,
and there we go. We get P2 just 2 tenths behind Charles Leclerc, about 6 tenths ahead of Sainz, and the Mercedes just fell off. Like, they were doing so well, but maybe their setup was just really set up for the race, and then Ferrari just had a better setup overall. But we'll just have to see on the race.
Here in Montreal, lights out is quickly approaching on this artificial island originally built for the World Fair in 1967. Now it's used for a World's Fair of a different kind, ever since Formula One first arrived here. We're back in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. If you want flat-out racing, you've come to the right place this weekend, as it's full throttle for 59% of this 2.7-mile circuit, peaking at around 210 miles per hour going into the final chicane. But that speed requires discipline, and there are more than a few close walls here just waiting to punish drivers with a heavy right foot. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Roberts completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Hamilton, Perez, Russell, Verstappen, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Bottas, Joe, Stroll, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Sonoda, Albon, Hulkenberg, Doohan, De Vries, Sargent, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And with me today, of course, is Natalie Pinkham. Why don't we kick off by discussing Max Verstappen? That was a great win in the last race, but can they keep that momentum going into this weekend?
Well, there are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out will have boosted their confidence coming into this race.
All the 5 lights are out, and we have a decent start, and Leclerc did have a good start too. So can I take a look on the inside? Nothing there. Into turn 2. Oh man, we are losing so much time to turn 2. We're taking so much time to get on the gas. I feel like we're getting some PTSD from last year's game, because that was one corner where I took forever to get the gas on, because that was just really one of the places where I spun the car. This is another place where I spun the car too, at least consistently in Canada in last year's game. So now we're just kind of trying to inch our way through. I feel like I should have added maybe a bit more rear downforce, but then also we haven't put in so much rear downforce, in terms of development to the car, so that might have been an issue, unlike the other teams where I feel like they would have had that rear downforce and not had any issues. But as we saw Sainz going into deep through that hairpin, Hamilton used that opportunity to overtake and is now behind us, so we'll just have to kind of suck it up a bit on how these are. And we see Hamilton and Sainz squabble behind us, so that should give us some breathing, at least a tiny bit of breathing room, as we see that gap kind of jump from like a tenth to almost 7 tenths. So it wasn't a bad idea. So it's just really trying to get it up there in terms of speed, and I guess being a bit comfortable, because now we're not losing a bunch of time to the cars behind. But we're getting there. I feel like we just have a bit more straight line speed, in my opinion. But of course, with the specs of this year's cars, you get more slip, you get more speed under slipstream. But it also doesn't help that the cars behind us are on softs. And if I remember correctly, Leclerc is also on softs, so we're just kind of like holding the rest of the field down right now. What I'm more worried about is the DRS zones, because once they're already fast on the slipstream, right? You could see Sainz there kind of challenging us right here on that straight. We keep our foot on the outside to get the switchback because it was outside inside, and we retained our position for now at least. But we are now in the third sector. We're heading into the next DRS straight, which I feel like it's not that long, so I feel like we should be able to fend off Sainz from charging in. But you see them all like this, just big DRS train right behind us. It's literally a DRS train from second to third, and we let Sainz through because there was no point fighting that, especially because we know we'll have a bigger disadvantage if we're overtaken on the longer DRS straight. So here we go. We're half a second behind him, and we will now have DRS against him on this DRS straight right here, and the front straight, because this is what we were kind of looking for. So we get that, blast through cleanly, have the DRS activated again on the front straight, and build this big gap, because now Sainz lost 2 positions just by not having DRS, as Hamilton was able to catch him on the front straight. But we still can't pull away from Hamilton, as our car's not that quick in these series of format right here. Plus, it's kind of is one of those difficult tracks for me as a driver. So we're just gonna get through this, and I know we have a trick up our sleeve, or if anything, we're gonna be burning more DRS as we head into this second DRS straight, because this is where we're gonna be at a full disadvantage, in my opinion. But we have a bit less than half a second, put on some ERS, protect the inside line, and hold off Hamilton, which isn't bad. But the problem is, you have Sainz over there, and here we go. We cover the inside line. Hamilton stays behind us for some slipstream, and we live to fight another day. And if you guys actually look at the timing screen, outside of Sargent DNFing, Magnussen is almost 2 seconds behind him. Assuming there was a bit of incident, but we could actually go check out the replay for that. Putting him for our replay of Sargent. He's heading into the first DRS straight, and then we just see yellow flag. I don't see a plume of smoke, but he just DNF. Oh, there you go. There's the smoke, and there goes the Mercedes engine yet again. Mercedes has had the most engine failures in this game. I mean, we've seen Ferrari. I think Ferrari only had like 1-2 DNFs, at least in my opinion, in terms of mechanical failures. And then you have, I think, Red Bull. I mean, we only had one from Perez, if I remember correctly. And then the rest were just like Alonso had, like, I remember there was at least one engine failure almost each race for a Mercedes customer. So we might have to rethink our plan for that. They have the highest they do have the highest durability, so maybe it's just horrible luck. But so far the engine has been good to us. We've had, like, Aston Martin had like a couple already. Like us, we didn't even have one yet, question mark. But other than that, I feel like we're somewhat good in terms of our engine. It's just fingers crossed on whenever that engine failure does come. So here we are, leading the race, and it's lap 14. A lot of people have already pitted, like Leclerc, but you see the other medium runners, Alonso, Norris, have yet to pit like we have. So our strategy here is to kind of extend, try to get the tires in, at least the soft tires, to last 10 laps, and then go for softs. And you see Leclerc here already pitting for softs and already left the rest of the field, because Leclerc is basically net P1 right now because he did pit already. And you see how much grip he has, trying to get a move on Norris, and does so on the outside, and now has, I mean, because of that hustle here, he loses DRS to Alonso's now could fall victim. Norris, who has DRS and is around half a second behind Leclerc, but Leclerc has been the faster driver, at least has the faster car in this track, barring us from trying to hold up the rest of the field. And we see them pit, and I think we pit as well. So we do pit for soft tires, trying to make this last 10 laps, which I would say is a bit of a feat in my opinion. And we come out just behind Stroll, but in front of Verstappen, and this is gonna be a bit. We will have the tire advantage here, although our tires are still cold. We will have the tire advantage in the early stint. So within like when we reach lap 20, we're not even gonna fight Verstappen. We're just gonna let him through. What our goal here is, like what we did earlier with Sainz, is that we let them pass, and then we'll overtake them through the DRS straight, which is for me a completely fine strat. He's so slow. We are just sniffing that gearbox of his. But we basically have the tire advantage for the next 5 laps, and they're on 5 lap old mediums. And we go overtake Verstappen on the outside and get DRS. This just goes to show how fast that Red Bull is, because even though we're on softs, even though we overtook him on the outside of that chicane, we are still not that fast down on a straight line compared to a Red Bull. But with that, Sainz was able to overtake Verstappen on that front straight, as well, as he just has DRS, and of course we see how fast Leclerc is. Then it's not too far off that Sainz's car is not that low as well. But as we approach this hairpin, we still can't get lead and build a gap from Sainz, which is, I feel like, starting to be a bit of an issue. Sainz slowed down a bit, which is, I guess we just had a better takeoff from that line. But Sainz did kind of slow down a bit, although he did catch up with the help of DRS. Now we're gonna push from ERS here, just to keep ourselves in front and keep at least a tiny little gap. And this first few corners is where I'd say first 2 corners where where we lose a lot of time. Now we're gaining a bit of time now, at least in terms of gap to Sainz, as he is on 5-lap old mediums and we're on like 2-lap old soft. So he should be good, barring from just the deficiencies of our car. Sainz slipstreams, goes on the outside for the overtake. We don't fight him at all, because I feel like right now the best way to survive at this point, even though we have pressure tires and you see Verstappen and Russell duking it out behind us, the better way to actually survive this is use the strategy of letting them pass to the first DRS straight, and then here on the second DRS straight and the front straight, we just get DRS, try to overtake Sainz, and Sainz is keeping up. He must have burned a bunch of DRS just to keep up with us. But here we go. After that chicane, we are building that small tiny gap. Hopefully we could build it up even more once we hopefully get this corner down pat, which we kind of do, because this time we don't lose any time, and Sainz isn't tussling with Russell or Verstappen, which both cars have now fallen back a 1.5 seconds, and now this should give us the breathing room of like Sainz or not even a car behind us, that could haggle us, could fight us, make us even slower. But now we're just trying to build as much of a gap, because I feel like we have 2 to 3 laps left before the soft tires start to be, I wouldn't say completely fall off a cliff, but the grip is not going to be there. We're going to be at least a second slower now, and hopefully as just enough to kind of keep us in the game. Especially we know that Science and mostly everyone else on the grid did pit like around lap 10. So that should kind of help us a bit more. But let's tune in to the fight of Russell and Verstappen, as they're the ones that has been duking it out here a bit, as especially now that we have built a bit of a gap to Sainz, and because Russell and Verstappen has been duking it out, at least earlier, they were kind of falling back, and now that they're kind of getting within the range of Sainz, this should give us a good battle as we head into the next DRS straight, assuming that Russell actually gets within DRS of Sainz. If not, then we shall see I'm already expecting to see Verstappen, maybe even Hamilton flying by. But from the looks of that a bit slow exit, I feel like maybe Verstappen might have a better chance, not so much of Hamilton here, getting to overtake Russell, but doesn't. He does get close. He's within 3/10, but could he get the job done on the front straight? I don't think so. I feel like the Mercedes does have a really good balanced out car for this track, as I was expecting Verstappen to overtake Russell in at least in that long DRS straight and maybe build the gap on the front straight, but he didn't. So maybe the Mercedes does have a really good setup car, and now Russell is within DRS range of Sainz. Let's see if Russell could actually maybe pick up a podium position here. I mean, here's me hoping that he doesn't, because with the Mercedes does look like a well-balanced car, but the question is, if he does get past Sainz, will he catch? I feel like I really have a good feeling that he might catch up to us. But of course, we kind of don't know if they will. But here we go. Like, okay, after that DRS straight, he did get closer, but it's like not really close. But now that with the help of the front straight that has DRS, maybe Russell could put the move on Sainz on this following DRS straight, which I feel like would be possible, but now he's like half a second away, which is he won't be able to overtake him on the straight in my opinion, but he might just close the gap at least a bit more. And you could see that Sainz is falling a bit behind us now. Lap 20, like halfway through lap 21, Sainz is we basically have a 3-second gap against Sainz. So maybe our tires hasn't fallen off, but theirs has, because it's been 11 laps. So, and this basically allows us to kind of maybe 6 seconds, 4 laps. I feel like that's going to be hard to catch, but as we see here, Russell still hasn't overtaken Sainz, which to me is surprising. And maybe that Ferrari just has. I mean, look at the player, man. He still hasn't overtaken him. That is insane. But I guess look at the player. Like, Leclerc is still having a pretty good race, regardless. So we just have to. We just have to check where maybe this Ferrari was just really suited for this track, because Leclerc's riding off to the sunset. We tried catching up to him, but that was a lost cause. But everyone now is really just on a DRS train at this point, as Russell seems to only get closer, but he does lose a bit of time on the exits, because he's already like half a second, where he was like 2-3 tenths behind Sainz entering that corner. But this is like I'm just a bit surprised, mostly especially with Red Bull, as I was kind of hoping, like, you know, the traits of the Red Bull, how strong their DRS is. I guess it's just not strong enough here, because I don't see Verstappen kind of hounding Russell. Russell's trying to hound Sainz, but nothing is happening. And here we go, lap 24. Sainz puts a move. No, not Sainz. Russell puts a move on Sainz, and does he finish the move? He finishes the move right there, overtaking Sainz, getting a podium position, and you can see that we are 4 seconds behind Leclerc. I feel like if we maybe did, if we didn't push the mediums as much as we did and went into hards, maybe would have caught up to Leclerc, because I know the hard tires would have lasted more than 10 laps for sure. But what's done is done. We tried that strat, thinking maybe it could be a good strat, but nope. It wasn't the best strat in my opinion. But hey, at least we still get P2. And here we go. Russell, I feel like, is building more of a gap now. As I mean, Sainz is not catching up with him as much, especially now that Sainz has DRS. I feel like Sainz's I feel like they drove these tires out a bit too much, and it's just like, you know, it's just that they're basically kind of falling off at this point, because they're what, 15 lap old mediums. That's, I feel like, really pushing the tires. But let's tune in now to Leclerc as he's headed into the last few corners of this race to check his checkered flag. Collect his checkered flag, and he heads into the last 2 corners. And as he heads into the start-finish line, he gets P1. And here we are. But 5 seconds, collects the checkered flag, gets P2. There is nothing more you can ask from us, as our car just wasn't the best car for this track. In my opinion, I had to drive this car like there was no tomorrow.
What a drive that was to take the win for Ferrari today. So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
I feel consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Here come our winners now, a thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
Had to defend with the elbows out, not gonna lie, not the best thing I wanted to do, but got the job done. A bit of playing DRS chicken, especially when it came to the long DRS section, but then you can't blame a person, you can't blame a driver for trying to use all the tactics available to them just to retain their position. But outside of that, I hope you guys did enjoy this race. I hope you guys have enjoyed this is episode 7 of our 16 episode season. 16 because 16 one episode per season. Yeah, all of that. If you guys did enjoy this video, please hit the like button and the subscribe button as well, and hit the notification bell if you guys want to be updated on when I upload these videos. Sound down in a comment, leave down in a comment what your thoughts are for this race, and if you guys have any thoughts about this race. And until then, This is Panel 12. Hitting out.